The only person you spend your whole life with is you. It's so hard to not care what other people think about us. I was a people pleaser for a very long time and still fall back into it sometimes. But the only person you spend all your time with is you. So what do you think? What do you feel? What do you want? And that can be so hard when we've been conditioned not to make ourselves a priority.
Hello, loves. Welcome back to the podcast. And today I am joined by the lovely Kate House. She is a confident coach, and we are in for a ride today, my loves. We are going to talk about all things to do with our voice, our truth, our confidence, and owning our authority. So I'm going to let Kate tell us a little bit about herself before we dive into this juicy conversation. Kate, welcome. Thank you for joining me here.
Oh my goodness, Samantha, thank you so much. It is such a pleasure. I've been loving spending time with you. And yeah, I love being a confidence coach for women, but I am not a unicorn. I was not born like this. I did not wake up one day and was like, I am this confident, empowered woman. There has been a journey to getting here and might resonate with some of your community members in terms of I was the oldest child, straight A student, graduated college, Phi Beta Kappa, got the job I was supposed to have. I ticked all the boxes, all the things I was supposed to do. And then one day, right at 25, I had a whole quarter life crisis and was like, what am I doing with my life? Like, I'm sitting in this little cubicle under fluorescent lights and my soul is slowly dying, right? And there wasn't anything wrong with the people or the job itself. It just wasn't right for me. And I had to take a look at what am I doing with my time and how does it make me feel? And do I want to keep doing this for the next however many years of my life? And I remember like just feeling so down and so defeated. And there was this one day I was sitting on our couch and my husband and we had this old leather sofa. Like it was like hand me down from my parents. And so we're sitting on this leather sofa and I'm just crying. And I remember him rubbing my back and he told me, I just wish I could make it better. And I had like kind of two realizations in that moment. We don't all get to have like light bulb moments in life, but if I were a cartoon, there would have been a light bulb over my head that was like ding. And I realized two things. I realized what I'm not changing, I'm choosing. And I was like, oh, do I want to keep choosing how I feel right now? And the answer was no. So, what I'm not changing, I'm choosing, and nothing changes if nothing changes. We've all heard that before, right? But I kept showing up and doing the same thing over and over again and expecting to feel differently, and I never actually did. And that was what kind of started this journey to where I am now of this brand of owning her authority. But it started with becoming a yoga teacher and being like, gosh, what are people gonna think? I just finished this like fancy 4-year degree. I'm only a couple years into my career. Now I'm gonna go teach yoga, but it was the next right step. And then that led me to being a holistic health coach. And then that led me to starting a podcast. And then that led me to becoming an author and all these different things that I do now. But in that whole journey, I learned that it was all about just trusting myself to take the next right step. And so not to be so concerned with what's the 10-year goal, because if I had known 10 years later, I'd be hosting digital summits, online summits for women around the world. I would have never gotten started because I would have been like, that's terrifying and insane. No. And so that's my story in a nutshell. I have two little boys. I'm married to my college sweetheart. We live in the small town where we went to college. I love our small town life, but I also love the internet and the fact that I get to connect with women around the world and be a confidence coach and get to do this work and help women. And we have so much inherent power and help us get to a place where we can use our voice and own our authority and do it from a place of confidence and clarity too.
Oof, I love that. Oh my gosh. Yes, I'm all for it. I'm all for it. And for those who may have picked up that we have had a conversation before this podcast, we were just talking about our love for women, about
Yeah.
coming together and wanting to support women to shine and to embrace their wholeness and their fullness and their too muchness and all the things.
Yes.
So,
Especially the too muchness. Any woman that's been told they're too much, I'm like, oh no.
Yeah, absolutely. So even though this episode isn't specifically about dating or relationships, it absolutely is 100% relevant to it because as we know, it all intertwines.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, this is about you, my love.
Yeah.
This is about you and not about getting the dream relationship with a partner, but about you becoming your best self. And Kate is leading the way. All right, love. I wanted to just echo something that you said. You said, what I'm not changing, I'm choosing. I was like, oh,
Hmm.
that is so
Oh.
powerful. And what came to my mind was a client of mine who and I guess you could put this to business to anything in life where she has been in a relationship for 8+ years. And we can see the same with career, like in your story. I've been in this
Mhm.
career, I've worked so hard in this career, I've worked so hard in this relationship, but I know in my heart, I know deep down that it's not going
Mhm.
anywhere.
Yeah.
But I've invested so much, and it's almost like this
Mhm.
investment fallacy. Like, how can I
Yes.
walk away when I've invested so much? So our default there is to not change. And
Mhm.
you had that light bulb, but I'm choosing it. I wonder, how can women be brave? How can we embrace our courage and lean into that trust that you were talking about? I have to trust
Mhm.
myself in this moment that even though I don't know what's ahead, I got this. I've got my own back, even though
Yeah.
I've invested so many years in this thing that I've valued for so long. What
Mhm.
can we say to those women that are in that space right now?
Oh man, I would say first of all, like you're completely valid for feeling however you're feeling right now. If you feel a little scared, if you feel nervous, if you maybe you're even being hard on yourself, right? And you're like, gosh, why can't I just feel content? We're like pounded with this like gratitude. I love gratitude. Don't get me wrong. I have a gratitude practice I do every day, but when there's something misaligned, we feel that internal friction. And I think a lot of the work that you do of coming home to yourself allows you to notice that friction and to address it. So that way, like this, it's like the idea of you get this little splinter, right? And you can just pick it out, grab your tweezers, and it's taken care of. But if you leave it, it's going to fester and it could get infected, right? And it becomes this whole thing. And I think of it like that. If we're feeling that friction, okay, let's grab the tweezers and address it. Let's not let it fester and get to this point where we feel resentful or we feel stuck. Because the longer you stay in a situation where you're like, this isn't quite right, the harder it gets to go. Exactly, because of that sunk cost fallacy, right? Where like I put so much time and energy in. So I would say, one, you're completely valid in feeling however you feel right now. Don't try to shame yourself into feeling differently. And two, it's totally normal to feel nervous or scared. And what I would encourage, like what I did in my life was like a full 180. And that's classic Kate. I can't do anything halfway, it seems. But I also had the support of my husband was super encouraging. He like when I realized my staying where I was and feeling stuck was hurting him in a way, like I was like, oh, I have to make a change because this is hurting the person I love most in the world. Now I'm in a place where I can make those changes for myself. But even at that time, I had to borrow the courage from him to do it. But I would say to start small. You don't have to quit your job and become a yoga teacher, right? Like sometimes this courage muscle, like it's a muscle and it gets stronger over time. So maybe that looks like you have it on your heart that you want to pursue this thing and you want to just go learn about it, enroll in a class, go to an in-person class, take a class online, whatever it is, but commit to it and keep showing up for yourself consistently because it's the consistency that creates the confidence. I think sometimes we think it's the other way around. It's like, I'm magically confident and now I can be consistent and I can put myself out there. But the confidence comes from putting yourself out there. Even I'm sure you've had this experience in the podcasting, right? Like the first couple of times you guessed, you're like, what am I doing? And then you get so many episodes in and you're like, oh no, this is great. I love this. Like I could do this in my sleep. And you feel comfortable. It's because you've done it over and over again. You've built up that muscle. And I think confidence is the same way. And it's very okay to start small and to show up consistently because that's then telling yourself, like, oh, you can trust yourself, you can trust your intuition, and you can keep leaning into that.
I love that. And it comes back to the intention of why you're doing it, right? Because I do have my relationship head switched on as well. And I
Mhm.
guess what I see a lot with women when they're dating. They might be
Hmm.
excited, first of all. Woo, I'm so excited to meet all these new amazing people.
Yeah.
But then along the way, they get rejected or they get told, no, I'm not interested, or they are not interested in this person. And then they start to
Mhm.
develop beliefs around what if there's no one out there for me? What if I was so stupid to leave that relationship? What if it doesn't get any better?
Yeah.
And in those moments, whether it is in a dating situation or if we're building a business and we're getting
Mhm.
no from clients, or maybe
Yeah.
that social media post didn't perform as well as we thought,
Mm.
how can we pick ourselves up off the floor when we feel like, oh, what if I've made a mistake here? I guess it comes back to that trust thing, right? What if
Mhm.
I've made the mistake? What if? And they start playing the what if game.
Yeah.
What can we do when we're on the floor and ugly crying?
Oh my gosh. First of all, I've been there. Absolutely. I would say there's probably two things I would say. One is that you are so much stronger and you have so much perseverance than you even realize. And so if this is a momentary setback, this is just you're like, you know what? I'm big into my feels today. Like my period's about to start and I'm feeling everything really deeply. That's okay. It's okay to feel upset. Like I'm enrolling in my new mastermind right now, for example, and it's my highest ticket offer I've ever had. And like for every yes that I get, like four no's. And every no, it does. It sometimes causes you to be like, huh, maybe this isn't the right thing. Or maybe but then when you get the yes, you're like, okay, no, this is why I'm doing it. And so it's okay to feel a little, oh, that's a bummer, or to be in your feelings about it. Like the last thing we want to do is push those emotions down, right? We want to let ourselves feel them. But I would say once you've processed them, and I know you do a lot of like somatic work, right? Like, how can you come back to center? Like, how do you need to go for a walk? Do you need to get off of social? Do you need to read a book? Like, for me, like in the summer, my garden is my happy place. So, like, I go to my garden, I don't bring my phone. Like, I realized recently I hadn't shared my garden on social media all summer, and I'm like so proud of it. And I realized it's because I never bring my phone outside with me because that's my space where I'm like, I am detached from everything. Like my kids are with me and we're just there together. So I would first, okay, how can you come back to a place that you feel good? Like, how can we find that equilibrium? And then sometimes we do have to have that conversation with ourselves of, okay, but is this the next right step or are we trying to force it? I think sometimes, like, especially in business or even in relationships, we can try to force instead of flow. And like forcing feels very, I don't know, it doesn't feel good. And it's like you're constantly hitting your head against a brick wall. Maybe you're getting some movement, but gosh, it's hard. And so I would ask yourself, like, how can I approach this in a way that feels better? How can I approach this in a way that flows? And sometimes that means hiring a coach, working with somebody like Samantha when you're like, oh my gosh, I just can't do this again. Find somebody who can support you in this. And I guess the last thing is that, yeah, you don't have to do this alone. There are so many people out there in the world who can help you. And so if you're feeling defeated, if you're feeling lost, reach out for support. And you don't have to be
Oh,
like, I am woman, hear me roar.
yeah.
Sisterhood.
Oh, and we just had a whole conversation about sisterhood and how much we love it. Because I know I've been in that space, Kate. I don't know about you, but a lot of women have been in this space where we feel like we have to do it all alone, that
Oh, absolutely.
we
And it's a
can't
failure to
be,
ask for help.
yes, and feel like I can't ask for help. I can't
Yeah.
burden myself onto.
Right? I know. And which is just bonkers because when we do it to ourselves, it for some reason makes sense. But then when we hear somebody else say it, we're like, no, I would love to support and help you. And it's, gosh, why are we so hard on ourselves?
We're willing to take all the favors that people ask us and we're willing to give and give. But
Yeah.
then we have to ask ourselves, are we able to receive?
Yeah.
Because we don't ask for support. I think that's one thing. And then there's the shame element as well. Like
Mm,
it's almost
yes.
if we have a vulnerability issue, we don't want to share what we're going through just in case that
Yeah.
person uses it against us, in case we get
Hmm.
shamed. This could be linked to a shame wound that we picked up from childhood. We won't go there
Hmm.
now, but just notice, is there a
Yeah.
layer of shame around sharing and asking for
Hmm.
support?
Yeah.
And I think that we're definitely on the same wavelength in terms of our missions of bringing women
Hmm.
together in for this reason, to
Yeah.
support, to know that you're not alone, to be able to eliminate shame, whether it's
Yeah.
shame around an anxious attachment wound or shame around not
Hmm.
feeling good enough in your business. It's so important to surround ourselves by other women, and I say
Yeah.
women because yes, we have our boyfriend and our husbands, but there's such a different special power when women come together. Can you talk to us a little bit about your experiences that you've felt, or maybe in your mastermind, of the
Mhm.
power of when women come together and what that looks like?
Yes. Oh my gosh. I love that question, Samantha. So thank you for asking it. Yes. Before my mastermind, I hosted something called the Live by Design Collective. And when I started my podcast, it was called the Live by Design Podcast. And it's grown into something different. Now it's owning her authority. But when it was Live by Design, we had the collective for 3 years. And so it was a monthly group. I guess like you'd call it a membership, but really it was just a community of women who every month we showed up and I would teach on like a personal development topic. We would do a journaling session every month and then we would have two other sessions where we would come together and share where we're glowing and where we're growing. So what's going on and where we're having some challenges. And the coolest thing I think about hosting the collective for that long was some of these women were there the whole 3 years. And some were there for 6 months or a year. But no matter how long they were there, these were women from all different walks of life, all different parts of the country, all different ages, all different experiences. We had empty nesters. We had women who were pregnant with their first babies. We had women who are choosing to not have children. So there was no one thing that, quote, defined us other than we all just wanted to live by design and not by default. We wanted to lean into intentional living. And it was so cool to see women come together where one person would share, I'm really struggling with my relationship, or I'm really struggling with consistency, or I'm really struggling with body image. And the other women in the collective would come together and, first of all, be their hype girls. There's nothing like having another woman be like, oh, I see you. I hold space for you. I'm here to validate you. And then to have this collective wisdom of women who are like, oh, what about this? Or have you tried this approach? Or here's something that's helped me when I was in a similar situation. And never from this place of like holier than thou, or like we were all in this community as equals and we were all coming together because we just wanted to live intentionally and get to do it together. And I think the other thing that was really cool was these are women who we would have never just bumped into each other in the grocery store, right? Because people are calling in from all over the country, all over the world. And so the sisterhood that developed was really cool because these aren't people that you have necessarily a history with, right? So it's not like there's not past experience. It's just like you're here in this moment together and everyone has a little bit of distance, right? Because sometimes we're so deep in our own stuff that we don't see things clearly necessarily. And so when there's somebody who you know that you've known for years now in this community and they have a little bit of distance from your immediate situation, sometimes they can lend perspectives that you're like, oh my gosh, I never thought about it that way. That's amazing. And so I think that's the power of bringing women together is that we can remind each other of, and a lot of what you teach on, of your enoughness, of your self-worth, of this inherent value that you have as a human being, and that the only person you go through all of life with is yourself.
Yeah.
So, like, how can we love ourselves first and foremost, right? So that there's more of us to pour into these other areas of life.
Yeah. And how can we allow ourselves to be held by our sisters and other women?
Yes,
Because that's another
absolutely.
thing.
It can be so scary to be the one that's, I'm having a hard time. It can be
Yes.
so hard. I used to feel like it was like a failure to admit that I was anything but perfect. I was
Hmm.
raised as the perfectionist, and learning to show up in the messy middle has been this really beautiful experience, but it's also hella hard when you're like,
Absolutely.
oh, I don't have to pretend I have it all together all the time because I don't.
Yeah. And what's interesting that when you unlock your vulnerability, another woman will unlock her vulnerability, and then connection is formed and sharing is
Exactly.
created, and there's all this beautifulness that comes from it. But I
Yeah.
can see how it can be hard. And for a lot of women, including myself, I was very
Mhm.
bullied in school by other
Yeah.
girls. I know a lot of
Hmm.
people can resonate with this, right? Where they've grown up with a story around women are bitchy and catty
Right.
and not nice and mean and
Mhm.
horrible and out to get me and all these things. Whether it's
Mhm.
bullying, whether it's a shitty sister, whether whatever has gone.
Yeah.
So we can develop what we call a sister wound. And I remember not
Hmm.
wanting to be around other women. Like it was not
Yeah.
safe to be around other women. And I used to say, oh, maybe I'm just a guy's gal. And I would just go and surround myself with boys. And I've got brothers as well. So it felt
Yeah.
safer.
Mhm.
Women didn't feel safe.
Yeah.
So I feel like when we create these types of collectives and movements and memberships, and I'm creating my own as we talk as well, because I'm noticing the power, but there can be such a
Yeah.
power in really leaning into that discomfort. When I
Hmm.
started to allow myself to open up to other women, and sometimes that meant women I didn't know, women
Yes.
that, like you said, they have that distance.
Yeah.
If you say something not so nice, it's not going to hurt me as much as if it a woman that I do know, like a sister or cousin, said to
Yes.
me.
Yep.
Sometimes we get to put ourselves in rooms, in spaces, online or offline, where we don't know these women. And if anything, they
Hmm.
feel a little bit safer. Do you feel that
Hmm.
way as well?
Absolutely. Yeah. I actually joined it's anecdotally when we moved to Gettysburg like 4 or 5 years ago now. I joined this moms group because I was like, I lived in Gettysburg as a college student, but I had never lived here as like an adult.
Hmm.
And I was like, I need to make friends. Like, how do I do that? And at the time, it was like, we're just coming out of the pandemic. And so I joined this moms group because I was like, maybe I can meet people who are in a similar season of life. And that led to this really cool, they did this activity where you would have a secret mom and you would drop off gifts for your secret mom, like a couple gifts during a 6 month span. And so every month you get this little surprise gift like in your mailbox from your secret mom, and then you had to the person that you would give. So it was like this big gifting circle. And at the end, we all got together and I remember we had a meal together at this local brew pub. And there's 15 of us sitting there. And I was like, this is so cool because these are women that like we've all been pouring and like into each other, but I like had never really met them before. And so we were
Mm.
sitting at this table and it was just so cool because it's like we've got women who were have established businesses in my small town. We have women who are stay-at-home moms. We have women who are single and maybe a single mom. And so it was just so cool. And there was just this connection like immediately. And I was like, I have probably never talked to most of these people before. Like maybe I saw them at a mom's event and our kids played next to each other, but we got to sit down and connect with each other in a way that was just like, wow, this is really powerful
Mm.
and deep. And we'd never really even talked before that. And yeah, I think there is a lot of power in calling people in who are in maybe a similar season, who, yeah, who you don't have that past experience with. I think it can be really refreshing.
100%. I love
Yeah.
this collective shift that's happening right now around the world where sisters, women, girls, they're coming together. And like you
Yeah.
said, put yourself in a room with people with women who get it, whether it's
Yeah.
an anxious attachment and you don't
Mhm.
feel comfortable talking to your family about it because they're just telling you to get over it, which is
Right.
unhelpful.
Is that
Pop
you're
in the
like,
room.
thanks.
Yeah.
I would if I
Unhelpful. Put
could.
yourself in a room with women who also are healing their anxious attachment. If you're growing a
Yes.
business and you're around family members that's telling you it's a silly idea, put
Mhm.
yourself in a room with other women that are creating businesses. So
Yes.
you can, what's that saying? Like you are a reflection of the people that you surround yourself with.
Yes.
So
It's
if you are,
so true.
yeah, if you're not getting that at home
Yeah.
or around your in your inner circle, go and find another circle,
Mhm.
online or
Yeah.
offline. Love that.
And there's so many out there. I know you talk a lot about like radical responsibility, and I think there's a level of responsibility like to ourselves. If you're like, I've definitely in seasons like I've moved a fair amount, and each time we moved, I was like, oh man, I got to go through like the whole process of making friends again, right? Like in-person friends. And then I realized, but wait, the internet exists. Like, what if I create the community of women that I want and it's online, right? And so there's so much value in getting together in person, but also if you have the internet, if you're listening to this podcast episode, you probably have access to the internet. There's so many groups out there, right? And so sometimes we just have to like get a little gumption. My grandma used to use the word gumption, and I
Mm.
love that word, right? So sometimes we just have to have 20 seconds of gumption and be like, all right, I'm going to go join this group, or I'm going to sign up for this club or whatever it is. And then once we have the gumption, we put in that courage to create that confidence, then and it just opens the door, right? But if we don't take action, then nothing actually changes. And so
Absolutely.
we
Yeah.
have to take that responsibility for our experience of life, right?
Absolutely, radical responsibility. And I think that leads us into the direction I want to take us in, which is owning
Yeah.
your authority. This is what we're
Yes.
all about. This is your name of your business, your podcast. Own your authority, which is, I guess, from someone who has an anxious attachment who is thinking, what the hell does that mean? When I'm so used to falling into a default of people pleasing and proving myself
Uh-huh.
and being perfect, to now own your authority seems really intimidating. So can
Yeah.
you give us a little insight on what does it mean to you to own your
Mhm.
authority?
Yes. First, I have to say, Samantha, I so see you and feel you. Like, I am the recovering perfectionist, people pleaser, like to a T. And I think that's actually why my business started off as living by design, because 5 years ago, I was not ready to own my authority. I was like, that is scary. No, thank you. I needed to figure out how to love myself. And once that foundation was established of self-care of and not like bubble baths, but like how do you heal? A lot of the work that you do, it's the healing, it's the coming home to yourself. And then moving into this space of owning her authority. And so to me, that means like unapologetically being yourself. Like Samantha shared actually on my podcast about how a lot of the women you work with, when they start to get to this embodiment phase, will sometimes get tattoos, right? And like I got a big tattoo this year, like the biggest one I have a bunch of tattoos. It was my biggest one I've ever had. And it's right on my forearm. There is no, I'm gonna hide this in a professional setting, right? No, I'm owning this tattoo and who I am and what it means to me. And owning her authority to me means feeling this confidence in yourself and exuding that out into the world. And that's in whatever way you want, whether that's in your relationship, whether that's in your business, whether that's here in the US, things are a little topsy-turvy right now. So maybe you're choosing to use your voice to create positive impact in your community. And it can be scary to own your authority, but to me, owning your authority means doing it scared. I literally have a tattoo that says do it scared. It's like my daily reminder to myself that a lot of times the thing that you feel called to do or the thing that's on your heart to do that your intuition is nudging you towards, it's usually just on the outside of your comfort zone. So like owning her authority to me means like listening to that intuition, being so connected with yourself that one, you hear when your intuition speaks, and then two, trusting yourself to do something with that, right? Because otherwise, we're just going to collect all these little nudges and then we're going to feel maybe regretful because we didn't actually take action. And so, what do we do with that hit of intuition? What do we do with that passion or that desire, right? And how can we be a little uncomfortable, maybe step outside of our comfort zone just by a tiny bit and really start to speak into that space and really own your voice and your opinions? How many of us have been in this used to happen to me all the time? I'd be in the grocery store and someone would walk by me and I would apologize for taking up space.
Oh my God.
Like, how many of us have done that? We're like, oh, I'm sorry. Wait, no, what am I sorry for? I have every right to stand in this aisle of the grocery store. So to me, owning her authority is like taking up, like owning the space that you take up in the world. And so for all the women who are listening who have been told like you're too much or you're too loud or you're too opinionated or whatever it is, it's about working with someone like you, healing those wounds that we might have, and then getting to a place where we can be like, you know what, this is part of who I am. And I love it about myself. And like maybe it doesn't make my life the easiest, but like I'm going to embrace it. And so for me, that's what owning her authority is all about. It's like being you and loving yourself, but also knowing that it's a journey, right? Like I'm not this, oh, I have arrived, right? No, like I'm going to continue to grow and change and learn and but how can I embrace the journey of it and not like delay joy for this future, I don't know, version of myself that like I just want to enjoy the journey, not just the destination.
Yes. Oh, I got goosebumps listening to that, Kate. That is
Aw.
so wonderful. I feel like I needed to hear that. What you just
Sometimes we
said.
need some to tell us these things, right?
Absolutely. Oh, I needed that reminder because it's within me. Just
Yeah.
needed to hear that, yeah, you get to take up space. You
Yes.
get to take up space, whether it's space in the business world, in the relationship world, in the
Mhm.
finance world, like getting all the money that you are worthy of.
Yes.
Take up space in the world. And I'm curious, could you give us some examples maybe from your own like stories or maybe what you've seen in
Mhm.
your mastermind, your client? Like how are women taking up space in
Mm.
this world and owning their authority, just so we can have an idea of what does it actually look like to do that?
Yeah, I think the first a couple of things that come to mind. One is, and this probably doesn't sound all that exciting, but it's having really clear boundaries, right? So taking up space means like, first to me, protecting your space and protecting your peace. And so owning your authority looks like not saying yes to every opportunity that comes your way. Like so many of us were conditioned to be the yes girl and we say yes to everything and we overcommit ourselves and then we like look at our calendar and we just want to cry because we're like, oh my gosh, I don't even want to do half of these things. If it doesn't feel like an opportunity and it feels like an obligation, get it off. Goodbye. And so that way you're creating the space to own your authority. But yeah, man, like using your voice, you can use this in so many ways. Once you've created that space for yourself, like it could look like being like Samantha and hosting a podcast, right? It could be like literally using your voice on a podcast and sharing your expertise, your message, what's on your heart, right? Owning your voice can look like being a leader. It can look like running for office, or it can look like being involved in your kid's school, right? It can look like you can ask yourself, like, what do I see in the world that doesn't feel good to me? What is out there that I'm like, you know what? This could be better. And putting some of your time and your energy into that. Owning your authority could look like in a relationship, like owning the fact that, like you gave a great example on my podcast, you don't like F1. It's like, okay, that's great. Like how owning your authority is saying what you do and you don't like and not letting yourself chameleon. And there's a lot of unpacking and a lot of healing that goes into that too, of course. But like I used to, like when I think back even to relationships like in high school, like whatever kind of music the guy I dated liked was the music I would listen to.
Mm,
And then eventually I had to be like, what do I actually like?
yeah.
And now my favorite kinds of music, my husband does not enjoy. And I'm like, that's okay. You don't have to. And so I think that's what like owning your authority means to me is it's using your voice to create some sort of change in the world that you desire. That is going to not only help you show up in this like in this way that you're like, I know I have the strength to do this. I know I want to be this leader or this collaborator. But I think the bigger thing is that it makes the world a better place. And that can be on whatever scale is right for you. Some people want to be world leaders. That's awesome. I'm not one of them. I would much rather be behind my podcast mic, right? And create impact and connection by being in people's earbuds, right? And creating that authentic connection with people. And so it's all about figuring out like what resonates with you and what resonates with you right now. It's okay to change. Like I know you've been going through a rebrand, right? Like sometimes we get so concerned about leaving people behind. And that kept me from actually making the shift to owning her authority for a long time. I was like, but what about the woman that I started this all for? What if I leave her behind? And then my business coach was like, but what if she's grown? What if she's ready to own her authority too? And trusting that it's okay to evolve and change your mind or to grow. And that's a beautiful part about life is that we don't stay stagnant. And that's a big part of it too, is being open to the ebb and flow of life.
100% open to change. And you touched upon a bit of a sore spot there for a lot of people, I think, when they feel the calling to evolve. I know I've been
Hmm.
through many of these different evolutions of who I am and who
Yeah.
I've become.
Yeah.
And I remember myself sitting with this, but what if people stop loving me? What if I get abandoned by these
Hmm.
people? What if I upset my loved ones by being this
Yeah.
way? What if I now get completely abandoned by my whole family and I
Mm.
have to cut all those ties? And that
Yeah.
can keep us small, right? That can
Oh,
keep us
yeah.
in this space of feeling stuck because we don't want to upset people. We don't want to
Hmm.
rock the boat in our relationships or in our career. We don't want to leave our
Yeah.
careers because that might upset people. Or
Uh-huh.
and we're so fixating on other people's opinions
Yes.
about us and our lives and the
Mhm.
expectations that they have on us. So what I'm hearing, Kate, is like owning your authority means doing it scared. Like
Uh-huh.
that is all valid, that's all there,
Mhm.
but coming back to what's important and
Yeah.
what matters is it can be different for everyone, right? Making that change in the
Yeah.
world, becoming who you truly are, who you are here
Hmm.
to be, or keeping yourself trapped with bringing in that radical responsibility, keeping
Hmm.
yourself trapped. And like you said, circling back to what you said, like what I'm not changing, I'm choosing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And like the only person you spend your whole life with is you.
Mm.
So what if we stopped so hard to not care what other people think about us? Oh, I get it. I was a people pleaser for a very long time and still fall back into it sometimes. But the only person you spend all your time with is you. So what do you think? What do you feel? What do you want? And that can be so hard when we've been conditioned not to make ourselves a priority. But
Absolutely.
it's really beautiful when you can get to a place where you're like, Actually, I do know what I like, and I do know what I want, and I do know what I'm worthy of." And that's pretty cool, I
Yeah,
think.
like you said, taking
Yeah.
that intentional action to
Yeah.
to those downloads and messages. So as we
Mhm.
close up this episode, Kate, I'd love for the listeners, I'm sure they're listening and be like, oh, this is so empowering. This is so inspiring. I'm ready to embrace and own my authority and who I want to be and leave everyone else's expectations and throw them in the bin or the trash can, as you say in the US.
Yes. Bin sounds so much better though. Let's be real.
The bin, the rubbish bin.
Yes.
Like throwing
Yes.
all that away and being like, I'm ready to live my life in accordance to my authenticity and own
Yeah.
that. But maybe there is a little bit of hesitation still. There's that
Hmm.
fear. I wonder if you can give us just one small shift that a woman
Yeah.
can make this week to feel
Yeah.
more in her power.
Oh my gosh, I love this so much. Okay, if there were one thing I would suggest so you feel more in your power, I would challenge you to think about what is something that you have wanted to do for forever and you just haven't pulled the trigger on. Do you want to take that watercolor class? But you're like, what will the teacher think of the fact that I've never done watercolor before? That's okay. That's why you're there. Or have you always wanted to, I don't know, sign up and try karate, right? That comes to mind for me because I did karate as a kid and my dad's a black belt, my grandma was a black belt. It's like a whole thing. And I'm not a black belt, but I was like, I would love to go back and try it again. And I'm 36 and I'm like, it took a little gumption to be like, okay, I'm gonna go sign up and it's gonna be me and all the 15-year-olds, but it's fine. So I would challenge you, what is your karate? What is the thing that you're like, oh, I really want to do this? Or maybe you want to take a course on public speaking, or maybe you want to ask that person out on a date, right? Or maybe there's just like something that you're like, I'm feeling this tug towards trying this thing. Maybe you've never practiced yoga before and you're like, I really want to try yoga, but you're worried about what do I wear and what just just book the class, right? That would be my thing is because this action creates clarity and then the repeated action cultivates the confidence. And so what is that one thing that you can do or sign up for, get the ball rolling on? That's maybe a little bit outside your comfort zone, not so far outside your comfort zone that you're like unsafe. Don't go hike Everest if that's not something that you've been
Yeah.
working towards. But do sign up for that course on learning how to hike or joining that club that goes out every weekend and starts to climb the smaller mountains, right? Take the first step, I guess is what I'm saying. That would be my advice. Take the first step. You don't have to have it all figured out. And sometimes you can take the step and you realize, I don't like this at all. And that's okay. Like sometimes you have to try things to get the data of, does this resonate with me or not? And sometimes it doesn't. And that's also very okay. But you're never going to know until you try.
Yes. Oh, love that. Now go off and do that one thing that you've been putting off that you're scared to do. I know for me, it's like those Latin dance classes. I
Yes.
would love to, and I have been to classes and I realize how shit I am. And I just like, oh, this is, ugh. And my ex-boyfriend was a dancer as well. So I really wanted to be good. And I had to get out of my own
Yes.
way and get out of my ego and just do it. And I think
Yes.
sometimes putting yourself in a space where you have to be brave and you have to get
Hmm.
courage is stepping into your power that you're like, no matter, even if I'm showing up and I'm shit,
Yeah,
I'm still safe. I'm still fine.
exactly.
And I'm
Yeah.
enjoying myself. And that's all I'm
Exactly. And sometimes you just have to borrow a little courage from the people around you, right? If you're like,
Yeah.
oh, this gal is really enjoying herself, I'm just going to channel that energy. Or like sometimes I think about like my 1 year from now self and like future Kate, she is so badass. And there are times that I'm like, what
Mm.
would future Kate do? And I like borrow courage from the future version of myself, if that even makes sense.
Oh,
But
I love that.
sometimes you just have to do that. And then
Ah,
once you get into motion, it's so much easier. Like it's
yes.
like getting started that can feel so hard.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it comes back to that intention part as well, which I think
Yeah.
is a really great time to tell the listeners about your freebie, because I think that's going to be a really great place to start when it comes to living by design.
So it's a cultivating confidence masterclass. I'm really proud of the teaching that's in this episode, but it's really about what are the things we can do on the inside and what are the things we can do on the outside that can help us cultivate confidence in ourselves. And
Mm,
so we can be so hard on ourselves. And so it was just about creating a space for us to own like what you're amazing at already, to create a space for where you want to grow and evolve and change, but also just to study like some of the background of confidence. Like, how does one actually cultivate confidence? Right? We talked about some more of the nitty-gritty of that as well. And there's some journal prompts that go along with it. So if you listen to this and you're like, Ooh, I would love to exude some more confidence. This is just a great place to start. It's a great place to just get inspired and to take that next right step.
Oof, love it. Yes. So if confidence is where it's at, definitely go and check out that webinar. I'm sure it's going to be so amazing to really tap into that energy of just getting started. Kate, thank you so much for coming on the podcast and giving us your insights and stories and wisdom. It's been absolutely phenomenal to have you on and sharing all the things around about confidence and how we can really step into our power, own our authority, whether it's in dating or business. It's just been such a
Mhm.
great time to have you here and to talk it all through. And
Oh,
if anybody wants to know more about Kate, we're going to put all her links in the show notes. So we can put the Instagram, the website, the Cultivating Confidence webinar as well. So yeah, thank you again so much, Kate, for being here.
oh my gosh, thank you so much. It has been such a pleasure, such a gift to get to spend this time with you. And gosh, I just love being in your presence. I'm so grateful for this time
Oh,
together. So thank you.
oh, that's so sweet. Thank you. You too. Love, love, love your energy.